Hello everyone and welcome to, well, a rant. I'm sorry, the Warlords of Draenor beta testing videos are going to be going on hiatus for a while. I know I just got started, but I am so completely disgusted right now with the way everything's being handled that I just have to vent. You can call me out on my BS if you want in the comments below. But, this is all really coming to a head. Yesterday was like the straw that broke the camel's back, okay? Not even the removal of the quest givers or anything like that. But it has to do with blood elves and the way certain things have been received. Now, originally, the new character models were going to be worked on over the course of several years and gradually released, starting with the oldest models: the humans, the orcs, the dwarves, the undead, the night elves, the tarns, the gnomes, the trolls. Then get to the Draenei and the blood elves. Now, after the mess that Blizzard had been going through, having to go back on certain things as they mentioned, the capital cities, the barracks acting like player housing. I mean, it's just so much they've had to go back on that they reached a point where there were actually so few new additions to the Warlords of Draenor expansion that they added in new character models as a bullet point. Now, the new character models look good. They look really good. I mean, the new Tauren, the new orcs, the new dwarves, the new gnomes, they all look excellent. And now they're working on new facial features for them, facial customization options. That's great. Well, yesterday, they announced that the Blood Elves weren't going to make the cut before the release. Well, actually, I take that back. The whole reason I'm upset is the handling of a lot of this. See, this is a big thing, and it wasn't announced on Battle.net. It wasn't announced on Blizzard's websites. It wasn't announced on their forums. It was announced in a developer's Twitter page. And in this Twitter page, he said they're out. And then he said, oh no, we'll have them done. And then he said they're out again. Oh no, we're working on it. And then they're out again. Within the course of just a few hours. And this has been par for the course lately. This is not how you handle announcements like this. Positive announcements, yes, you can do that. You can sneak them in here and there in Twitter posts or hint at them and be fun and playful. But if it's a negative announcement, it should be brought forward in a more public forum where, you know, the company can maybe apologize for the situation, maybe do a little damage control. I mean, come on, what happened to your PR department, Blizzard? Where are they? And all of this, in the end, there's just one thing I really have to say. And that is, so far, with Draenor coming out in October, November, as they're hoping to, or as they're going to, no matter what, It's not ready. They say that this is a beta test, and like I said, I'm not just judging on my own gameplay, which you haven't seen all of. I haven't recorded everything that I've done in the beta. And I'm also basing it on my own experiences and watching various other YouTubers, many other YouTubers, and their playthroughs of this game. What they have here, this is not a beta test. This is an alpha. This is an early alpha at best. Mark my words, Warlords of Draenor, this is not a Blizzard product. This is not the Blizzard that we all know. This is Activision pushing out yet another half-finished product, selling it at full retail when it's a little more than a beta test they plan on completing later with patches. I know that's me saying that's going to make a lot of people angry, but good lord, man, look at what you've got here. I went to the undead starting area. The undead starting area, one of the most well-known figures for the undead is Darnell. Darnell, the huge warrior undead who guides you, helps you out through a couple of your starting missions and adds a little comic relief to the game. Lord knows, I used Darnell a lot in my early videos. He's glowing pinkish purple and looks like he has tire treads wrapped around his chest and face. His model is a wreck, as are many other undead models. You don't see that sort of thing in a beta test. Especially not several patches into a beta test as we are now. You see that in alpha builds. These are incomplete models. You may see one slip in every now and then, and it gets patched out usually in a matter of hours. However, he's still this way. This is just... oh... Now, don't get me wrong. I understand. There's a lot of stuff they're doing. I understand. The stat squish. The stat squish reached a point where it was needed because, well, the numbers are getting, frankly, out of control. The gear has suffered from severe power creep. Especially the raid level gear. To the point where you pretty much have to raid to be competitive. Whether you want to or not. If you want to do anything other than just straight up quest, then you don't have a choice. You have to raid at high levels. You have to raid so that your gear can be competitive. If you want to do PvP, if you want to run dungeons with people, if you want to run heroics, you pretty much have to raid. On the other hand, if you don't want to raid, then you are never going to see any kind of resolution to your storylines. They don't even give quest givers any kind of little, okay, you helped us with the supply run and we won the battle, kind of throw them a bone cut scene. I mean, there's nothing. You know when questers get to see the end credits to the previous patch? After the next patch comes out. Yeah. And that's pretty much just, okay, here's a guy standing over here, go talk to him to see the last game's ending cinematic. give... I'm not here to tell Blizzard how to do their job. I know it's incredibly difficult. I know it is. But I'm just really disappointed. Blizzard, you used to have standards. You used to have standards when you published, when you were self-published, when you were self-owned. You had standards. My God, you were the reason that people dreaded, the reason that gamers dreaded the word soon. Hey, when is the next patch coming out? Soon. Because soon could mean a couple years down the road. But by God, when you released it, it was going to be as finished and polished as a game possibly could be before being released to the general public. Yes, after the general public got their hands on it, they found things that your testers may have missed, a couple things, and they found quirks and balance issues that your guys never even thought of. But that's what's going to happen when you have millions upon millions of people all playing a game together and sharing secrets and such over the internet. But now, Warlords of Draenor, this is just a joke. One of your big features is that essentially you're gutting everyone's spellbook. You're removing almost half of everyone's abilities. You're removing, you're making the people who make glyphs, it's not worth it anymore, because over half of the glyphs that people buy and use, you're making standard abilities now. I mean, it was one thing. It was one thing when you took ammunition away from ranged weapons, because let's face it, every hunter was an engineer at that point, so they could make their own ammunition. That's a kind of simplification I can get behind a bit. Personally, I think a better way would have been to where, instead of just making basic ammunition, the engineers could have made specialty ammunition that perhaps added nature damage, fire damage, electrical damage, and such at different levels. And these could be used in conjunction with weapons to cause extra damage. I know, like I said, I'm not here to tell you how to do your job, but that could have made things interesting and would have kept the engineering class a little more viable than it currently is. The engineering profession, rather. But again, these are all just my opinions. These are all just my opinions. But we went from games with huge areas added into the game and a lot of lore, new races, new classes. Oh my. We went from an expansion that added 2 new races and a new class to an expansion that added... Well, no, I take that back. We went from an expansion that added 2 new races and opened up class options that weren't previously available, which, Blizzard, you really need to work on that too. I'm sorry. It makes no freaking sense that you can't have a gnome hunter. Engineers make the guns that hunters use. Gnomes are the top engineers. Why can I not have a gnome hunter? If you say it's because they're not in tune with nature, then why the hell can goblins be shamans? That really makes no sense. But you need to open that up a bit. Hell, just break down and make it where... Oh, God. I can't say that any race can be any class. It makes sense why gnomes can't be shamans or druids. And I'll even kind of give you paladins. But it makes no sense why they can't be hunters. Tauren. Yeah, I see why they can't be rogues. They're kind of big to be sneaky. I see why they wouldn't be warlocks, but there's no reason why they couldn't be a mage. I mean, come on, even dwarves can be mages and warlocks. Hell, the only thing a dwarf can't be is a druid. And honestly, as in tune as they are with the mountains, I kinda can't see that. I mean, I can't figure out why a dwarf can be a rogue. They're not exactly subtle. But there's so many problems right now. So many. But back to Draenor. You had an expansion where you got 2 new races and opened up classes that weren't previously available before. Horde got access to paladins and Alliance got access to shamans. Then, the next expansion, you didn't get any new races, but you got an entire new class, a heroic class, which had never been seen before. The Death Knights. Now, I will admit, I've never made a Death Knight because it just felt cheaty to me to start at level 60. That, again, that's just me. It's no one's opinion but my own. And if you feel like doing that, more power to you. I'm not going to look down on you for making a Death Knight. But the storyline was amazing. Let's face it, Wrath of the Lich King, that was probably one of the best story arcs that Blizzard has done. Then after that came Cataclysm. Now, a lot of people really hate Cataclysm. It's a lot of people's least favorite expansions. I mean, I know people that quit playing when Cataclysm happened. Myself, I didn't like the changes they made to the gameplay. Even before that, I miss weapon mastery. I know, call me weird, but I kind of like the fact that anyone could equip any weapon and actually get good with it. I liked having a mage that if they ran out of spell points, ran out of mana, they could actually wield a DPS weapon to get out of there, or even a gun, so that they could still do some range DPS while their mana recharged. I missed things like that. I ran a melee hunter. I ran a dual wielding melee hunter. So yeah, I wasn't pleased with the gameplay changes. But the changes they made to the world in general, I mean, massive revamping of quest lines, characters dying, new characters coming in. They revamped the entire world except for the expansion areas. And that was a gutsy move. And it was done. And it was polished. And it looked good. And the changes, I mean, this was Cataclysm. This was essentially the apocalypse. It made logical sense what they had done. So world building wise, storyline wise, I liked Cataclysm. Gameplay wise, not so much. I know there are a lot of people that hated it for both. Then came Mists of Pandaria. I like the aesthetic. I like how they work that in. The monk class, it's a natural expansion. It's a natural continuation of the RPG tropes. After all, that's a lot of. Look back at Dungeons and Dragons, the tabletop RPG. You go all the way back to first edition Advanced Dungeons and Dragons. The first major expansion they made to the gameplay rules, where they added in new classes, was what they called back then, PC time, Oriental Adventures, where they added in ninjas and monks and such. The monk has become almost a staple of the fantasy class, so I have no problem with them adding it in. Why they chose Pandaren? I did not like them adding the Pandaren in at first. I was one of those ones said this was a joke race. It's an April Fool's joke. Hell, I have I have the Pandaren pet in the game. And, you know, it doesn't look good when your character model is a pet that's running around with someone else. They haven't done that to any other race except goblins. And even then, except goblins and undead. And the goblin and undead models for the pets look nothing like the character races. The Pandaren model looks almost exactly like the character race. But neither here nor there. Again, Pandaria was polished. It was gorgeous graphically. Beautiful, polished, balanced as could be. The beta test went really smoothly. They fixed the issues that they had. And it was done. And it was pretty good. The storyline was decent. It wasn't great. There were a lot of things that made sense. And there were a couple of plot holes. But that's going to happen with any storyline when the lore gets this deep. Or that brings us to Draenor, where at first they said we were going back in time. I was like, oh god, this is going to screw everything up. They said, oh no, he's going back in time, but it's also an alternate dimension, so it's not going to affect anything in art. Well, then what's the point? Let him go. Let Garrosh Hellscream go, close the portal from this side, and forget him. You done. You done, son. Over. Finished. That's the end of your storyline for Draenor. There is no reason to go after him. He has banished himself. There's your storyline. So you pointlessly go after him. I'd love to see where they're going to take it from here. But anyway, the problem is Blizzard has gone out. Now, Blizzard before has promised things ahead of time that they didn't deliver on. Mounted combat that I believe was promised in Wrath of the Lich King. The infamous dance studio, things like that. However, this is the first expansion where Blizzard has backpedaled on nearly everything. They have backpedaled on nearly everything they said was going to be in this game. They either backpedaled or they changed it drastically. except for saying that they were going to streamline the gameplay. In other words, they're gutting everyone's spell books and talents. So, now they are doing a few things right. The toy box, where your little trinkets that take up space in your bag, you're going to be able to get them from there. Heirloom storage that they're working on, where you'll be able to transfer your heirlooms between your characters without having to send them through the mail. Yeah, those are nice. Those are nice and all. But this is not going to be finished. Tomorrow is August 1st. That gives them 2 to 3 months to get this to retail. You cannot do that with an MMO. Not from the state that it's in now. It is not going to be ready. It's just not. They haven't had the time to test everything properly. They're not going to have the time to test everything properly. Character assets and models are not going to be completed. You have multiple placeholders all over the place. It's just a complete mess. And this has me really concerned for the future of this game that I've enjoyed for almost 10 years. I've enjoyed it on and off, yes, but I think the longest my own subscription has ever lapsed has been 2 months, and I ended up getting an entire new account because of it. But I'm really concerned with the direction that Blizzard is going. They're stripping the game out and dumbing it down. And they're more worried about the sales of an expansion than they are about their ongoing subscription base. And I just don't understand that point of view. They're so concerned with getting this expansion out by a set deadline that they're not even concerned with what is and is not going to be in it. They're not concerned with whether or not it's polished or even complete. They're not concerned with... Oh, I got disconnected. Go figure. But they're not concerned with whether or not it's going to be finished. They're not concerned with whether or not what they promised is going to be delivered. All they are concerned with is getting the expansion out and rushing people to level 90 to get started in it as soon as possible. The problem being, as I stated yesterday, it's not the sales of an expansion that makes World of Warcraft its money. Yes, it's a nice little boost. It's a nice shot in the arm when the company's a little down. But it's the subscriptions that pay the bills. Instead of making endgame content the end-all be-all, add more things in earlier for people to do along the way. Pet battles may be pointless and not everybody likes them, but it gave people at all levels something to do. Something to hunt around for and mess around with. And it didn't affect the actual gameplay that much, other than granting little drops of experience here and there, and maybe a little money by selling back and forth, which honestly I think it should have been trading to other people instead, probably, but then nobody would do it. But come up with something similar, something that everyone at all levels can do. Fix, for God's sake, fix the profession system. Good Lord, make it to where professions are worth it again. The only professions that are really worth it right now at all in World of Warcraft are enchantment and potion making. And that's only at extreme high levels for potion making. You don't need the low level healing potions anymore because you auto heal as soon as you get out of battle. It's made first aid entirely worthless. And it's just, and enchanting, now they're gonna strip glyphs away, and I don't know. I just don't know. I mean, I'm not gonna cancel my subscription or anything like that. I'm not gonna throw my hands up and storm off in a rage the way everybody else seems to be saying they're gonna do. I'm not gonna sit here and BS you about that. I love World of Warcraft. Played it for almost 10 years. I'm not going anywhere. But I can sit here and I can voice my displeasure. I have the right to do that. You, just like you have the right to call me out on my crap if you think it is. But I'm going to leave it at that for now. The series is going to be on hiatus a while just because, to be perfectly honest, I can't bear to play it in the messed up state that it is. It's one thing to go in and have to fill out a bug report because you stumble across one or two after a couple of hours of play. It's another thing to sit there and fill out a bug report every 5 minutes in what's supposed to be a beta. So, and yes, I have been doing that. I have been holding up my end of the beta agreement and reporting any bugs that I find. But right now, I'm just done with it. I'm done. I'm out of the beta. I will continue to play the regular game, and I'll just have to wait and see what happens as we get closer and closer to the expansion release and see what happens. But unless Blizzard can pull a miracle out of their rear end, I just have the feeling that the Draenor release is going to be a complete disaster. But I've ranted on long enough. Until next time, thank you for watching. Keep your nose in the wind and your tail to yourself. Goodbye.